Wizards of the Coast has officially taken control of the Commander format. This is a crazy announcement and is extremely historically significant. Let's break down whether or not this is a good thing and how we got here. It's been an insane week, but just in case you missed it, Mana Crypt, Jeweled Lotus, Dockside Extortionist, and Nadu Winged Wisdom were banned last week by the Rules Committee, a group of 5 people that do not work for Wizards of the Coast. Independent of the actual specific members' affiliation with Wizards in any professional capacity, the RC was not contracted by Wizards. That announcement caused widespread panic across the Magic community, and so as of this morning, Wizards of the Coast, in partnership with the 5 members of the current RC, has announced that their game design team will be taking control of the Commander format. They also talked about a 4-tier bracket system they're rolling out to establish power level and deck conversation pre-game, which we can talk about in a later video. You can read about it in the announcement, but basically your deck's power level will be determined by the highest power card in the deck, unless it fit into some other theme. So like Ancient Tomb would make your deck probably a 4 out of 4, but if it was in like a Tombs deck, maybe it would bring it down, so you would kind of have that conversation. Also, very notable in this announcement, they state, "We will not ban additional cards as part of this evaluation. While discussion of the ban list started this, immediate changes to the list are not our priority." I.e., don't expect any cards to get banned or unbanned anytime soon. So 2 questions I assume a lot of folks are going to have. Number 1, why did this happen? Number 2, what does this mean? The why here has everything to do with the reaction to last week's announcement. The reaction was absolutely insane. There was targeting, there was threats, there was stuff that would make me feel extremely uncomfortable personally if I was a member of that committee, independent of whether or not I thought this decision was the right thing or the wrong thing in retrospect for Commander. It was personal and it was awful. Jim Lepage released a statement this morning stating that he was devastated and also explaining his involvement in this whole process and how it started with his relationship to Sheldon Menery, rest in peace. The thing that I think is so sad about this announcement is that this decision was made essentially because the members of this group didn't feel like they could handle this or manage this in a way that was respectful, responsible, or safe for them, right? Like, I'm sure they made this decision collectively feeling like we're gonna do this thing, it's gonna be controversial, some people are gonna have a problem with it, but it wasn't gonna make them feel unsafe, and I think they all felt unsafe. And so in the end, their decision is to hand this over to Wizards of the Coast. Now, I haven't spoken to any members of the RC yet, and I expect eventually I will. However, I can't imagine this feels anything other than absolutely soul-crushing, considering the memory of Sheldon and how important the legacy of Commander and the RC was to him. And again, I don't want to speak like I knew because I only knew Sheldon a little bit, but based on the time I spent with him and also just publicly what he said, you know how important Commander was to him. And so the fact that this happened and the RC feels like Wizards needs to manage this and they can't, it just sucks, and it just shows that the community is not equipped to handle things respectfully, and it makes me really, really sad. You know, completely independently of how I feel about whether or not your deck should have a Jeweled Lotus in it. Though what this means for the future aspect, honestly, I'm a little unclear. I think that Wizards will handle this and manage this format the same way they manage any other format. If we're being honest, it was the only major format they didn't have total control of, which, given the fact that they're printing cards into Commander, is a strange reality that we were living in, but you know, it had to do a lot with the memory, I think, of the RC, Sheldon, the vision, and just where we were with it. The community engagement there felt like kind of a handshake deal with Wizards a little bit. I think their decision to move this over to Wizards is their decision, right? I don't know what happened behind closed doors, but I would imagine they were probably like, I don't want to be anywhere near making a decision like this on my own as 5 of us ever again. This seemed like the worst thing ever, and let's let Wizards be the void that we're all screaming into. The other interesting part of the conversation is that CEDH wasn't really addressed in this, right? And the CCC formed last week to basically try to manage the CEDH format moving forward, or at least provide voices that are going to help manage it. Without the RC continuing to function independent of Wizards, it calls into question a little bit more the future of CEDH and how that's going to be managed. This was definitely an opportunity for Wizards to acknowledge it, and they didn't, so I guess we'll see what happens there. So anyway, there you go. I'm sure more information will come out over the course of the week, and I'll speak more about it as I hear more about it, but let me know below in the comments, do you agree with this decision? Are you happy about it? How do you feel about it? Let me know below in the comments.